Good morning. Welcome back to the Keystone Western podcast. I'm Pedro, your host and producer, here to take you inside the world of trucking, past, present, and future. Whether you are a seasoned driver, just starting out, or curious about the industry, we've got you covered. Join us as we explore stories from the road, the latest innovations, and why trucking is a great career for everyone. Let's hit the road. Today, we're joined by one of our very own. Start by introducing yourself.
I am Chelsea. I've been at Keystone since 2018. I started doing just order entry and customer service, and then I moved into load planning and dispatching trucks, and moved into 3PL. And I also had a child while working. I had a baby in the middle of COVID. My daughter was born August 2020.
I'm sure that wasn't challenging at all.
Oh, it was. It was a very strange time. Yeah. But I think we benefited from it too, because Mike got to stay home longer because of COVID. So it wasn't, he stayed home for like the first, I want to say, almost 3 months. So that was really, really nice.
Okay.
And I came back and I got to do the job I was doing before. It's a really great company to work for, really great team members, a lot of camaraderie. And I've been enjoying the ride for the past 6.5 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So what initially drew you to trucking? How did you get started?
My dad worked at Keystone he worked here for a couple years before we worked here. My dad drove, been in warehousing his whole life. He used to take me to work with him. So I've been around this my whole life, so it kind of came naturally. But I never worked in trucking before. I was actually always in restaurants, working in the kitchens. And before I started here, I was a kitchen manager. But I'd always been trying to, move out of that. And then there was an opportunity to come work at Keystone, so I applied, and I got the job.
Okay.
And I've been here ever since.
No looking back.
No.
So tell me about your career path, the journey. Throughout Keystone.
I was only 24 when I started, so I kind of felt like a kid, and I feel like I've really grown up into a real adult working here. Because they needed to bring in somebody when we got the Argo account. And they didn't want it to be somebody in Winnipeg. They wanted it to be somebody in Ontario because Argo's based right out of New Hamburg, half an hour from here.
Okay.
So I started I was doing a lot of admin work, keeping track of everything in the warehouse, balancing all that out. I started just entering Argo parts, and then it turned into entering the machines, then just doing kind of everything with motorsports, all the order entry, all the load planning. And then we only had a few trucks, so I'd also just pass the trucks out of here at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would be doing everything, right, actually. And then, because it was pretty small at that time, I was also doing some of the maintenance stuff, so I was the one calling when the trucks broke down or the trailers needed work. And then we grew and we grew, so then, and then we used to only be in the back. We used to only have half this building. Mm-hmm. We used to share with another company. And then we took over the whole building. And then I moved from my little desk in the back to my bigger desk in the front. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was wearing a lot of hats. Okay. Because we were small and it was okay. I could handle load planning and all the order entry and the maintenance stuff and dispatching the trucks because there was only a few trucks. And then I went on maternity leave. And then when I came back, I was in a full dispatch role because we had grown. Okay. When I was on maternity leave, Kavita came along, Will came along, Justin came along. They got a couple more guys in the warehouse. Mm-hmm. And then, what year? That would have been 2021. I was dispatching, and then dispatching was probably my least favorite, actually. Load planning, load planning has always been my favorite. And 3PL is a really good, I've really enjoyed that. Okay. And I'm still doing that. And now the team kept growing and growing. Yeah. And now.
But dispatching, what was it about dispatching?
I'm not too sure. I look back on it and I think it was just, I found it the most stressful. Okay. Yeah. And too, when I was dispatching, I just had a baby. So it was, a lot of changes at the time. Okay. So, but then I moved back into more of a customer service role, and then we brought on more people, and 3PL was starting to grow. And then Tammy was like, I just need a 3PL person. So for an entire year, I just 3PL all by myself here. So I was brokering 100 loads up by myself every month. And then and I was load planning all of it too. So in Winnipeg, they just get the load and they sell it. I plan the whole thing here. I see all the releases, I plan the whole load, and then I sell it. And then that got to be a lot. So then I hired Sherry, who's been wonderful. And then we also hired Trish. We hired Kyle and Sasha too, like probably August a year ago to do. Sasha was sales, then we moved him into dispatch. Kyle's been customer service, and they've been a really nice fit too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you had to look back, like what are some challenges that you faced that, that really developed?
Just learning everything and not taking stuff personally and not putting too much pressure on myself to get it all done.
Okay.
Yeah, because I would worry a little bit too because I got the job because of my dad, so I always really pushed to prove that I'm not just here because of my dad. Yeah, so I've always worked hard. I always want to do the best I can, and then I put too much pressure on myself and stress myself out too much. It was a learning curve when I first started, but once it all clicked, it became easier. Once it's a big puzzle to put together.
Yeah.
And and it's one of those jobs where you'll know if you get it within the first few months. You either get it or you don't get it. And luckily enough, one day it all clicked, and I just understood everything.
Okay.
But understood everything at that time, but we're learning more every single day.
Okay.
I'm still learning every day. I learn new stuff every day, and
that's what makes it exciting, right?
Oh yeah, it's the same every day, but not the same every day. We're doing the same thing, but we're not.
Yeah. Did you find that there was a great grace given, that you had room to grow?
Oh yes. So it's always whatever I wanted to do. If I wanted to move into something else, if I wasn't liking what I was doing, then I would talk to Tammy about it, and with everybody, if you're not happy with what you're doing, Keystone will try and put you in a direction where you are happy and help you grow and help you learn. What I've always been told is, if you want to grow, if you want to learn, if you want to get better, we will always help you. Okay. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's encouraging. For anybody, I myself, I come from driving, and it's amazing. It's mind blowing the way the company just supports. Growth,
I know.
right?
It's right. You get ongoing support no matter what you're doing, as long as you're trying.
Obviously, you want to benefit the company, right? Not just. I can't fly kites just for fun.
Yeah, right? As long as you're trying to get better and trying to improve and work with the company, they'll get you where you want to go.
Yeah, exactly. So, a little bit more to your personal life. Did you find it challenging, or what tricks did you apply to balance your family life, especially as a parent?
Oh well, I'm lucky that I have support from my family. So the first year I did maternity leave. And then from 1 to 2, my dad stayed home and watched her from 1 to 2. He was her babysitter, and that was really good for him because growing up, I have 2 other sisters, and he worked a lot, so he didn't get that experience with us. He was out working all the time, working 2 or 3 jobs. So when I had Sophia, he got the opportunity to be there when she was young and experience that. And then from 2 to 4, I put her in a home daycare, and now she's in school. But I get support from my parents, from my sisters, from his family. We have a lot of help. Because you need it. You need it. But it's tough. It's tough it's hard sometimes. There's days when Sophia just doesn't want me to go to work and she just wants me home with her. And it's tough, but I have to work. And it's a good example to set for her too. Yeah. But you get mom guilt because you're not there when you want to be there and you miss certain things, and sometimes you feel like you're missing out on too much. But that's also a part of life. Yeah. And we give her a good life. Yeah. She has a good life. She has what she needs. She's well cared for. She has lots of people in her life. But it's a struggle. It's a struggle with, am I doing the right thing? Should I be there at home? But no, I know that working like this and setting this example for her is really good. But it's tough. It's hard.
Okay. Do you find that societal pressure, for example, there's this thing, as a parent, you should stay at home. As a mom, you should stay at home with your child. Or there's the other side. No, everybody, you should work. There's a two-sided pressure.
It's you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's a different pressure for a woman than it is for a man. When you're a working mom, it's just different. You're expected to do it all with a smile. And then, the dad, he shows up at the park with the kid and he's the best dad in the world. It's just different. Society views moms and dads differently, especially working moms and working dads. Sometimes it feels like no matter what, you're not going to win. Yeah. But that's society.
Yeah.
And that's not my problem. I know for me, I'm doing the right thing for my family every
for you.
day.
Good for you.
It's not easy, it's hard,
No.
and I question it sometimes, but I know at the end of the day, I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I kind of have to tune that other noise out.
Yeah, and it's good to constantly, I find, to check ourselves, right? Like, am I taking the proper approach? Or like you said, like, I question myself sometimes. We have to do it sometimes just to make sure that we're heading in the right direction.
Well, we need to grow as people.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to grow, and if you're not reflecting on yourself, not thinking about what you're doing,
Yeah.
you're not going to grow. You're going to be stuck.
Yeah, exactly. So just the willingness to do that. That takes guts too, right? Because often we're in an uncomfortable place, like where you measuring yourself, like, am I happy? Am I doing the right thing? Whereas you just whatever, it doesn't matter what I do, everything just goes on. But anyhow, I digress. What advice would you have for young professionals, especially let's say young professionals or kids out of high school that might want to think about or they're considering joining the logistics industry?
Oh, go for it.
Yeah.
I have no trucking background, right? Yeah. And I love it. Cherry, no trucking background. Trish, no trucking background. Kyle, we brought in a lot of people with no background, and you don't necessarily need the background. Having an education in it is very helpful, but it is a rewarding, fulfilling, fun, fast-paced career.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you get into it and you're good at it, and the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
There's so much out there in logistics, and if you get into the right department, you can make a really good amount of money too.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially drivers. Drivers make
a
good amount of money, especially in our motorsports industry. It is much higher paying than when you do general freight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And I always, I'm also in training, so I always tell drivers, this is normally you go to a gym, you pay for a gym, you do this.
It's a free workout.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not free. You're getting paid to work out.
Exactly. You get paid to work out, so it's a
because
win-win.
setting up those ramps is
it's challenging.
Oh yeah, and they're so heavy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that's why we teach them tricks and tips on how to do it. We obviously don't want people to hurt themselves. So.
But there is there's a efficient, safe way to do it where
That's
you're
right.
not. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we put a high emphasis on training, right? Like because you can just throw somebody in the truck and say, hey, figure it out. They might end up hurting themselves, which is unnecessary. The tools are available, and once you have the tools and you're equipped with them, it's easy. I would say I call it easy, but that's me. I've seen people struggle with it, and then we just try to figure out different ways, like how can we do it to make it easier for them.
We have some drivers. I mean, it's a tough job. They get older, and it's harder for them. But we still have drivers in their 60s doing these big ramps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're excelling at it, right?
Yeah. Do you ever miss driving?
Do I miss driving? Don't worry, that's just my phone. I have insurance for it. No, I don't. Can I get a new phone? Anyhow. Do I miss driving? Sometimes. My wife misses driving more. Like I went into driving because, fun fact, she's sitting behind the camera today. She's our director. I went into driving because her dad used to be a truck driver in a different country, and when she was a kid, she got to ride along, so it was always her dream. So we have a picture at home that we give her dad before we sold our truck, and her dad's truck, they're driving now again too. We put the two trucks together, and then just her standing in front of our truck and her dad in front of theirs. So it just kind of she wanted that picture to give to her dad. Like,
aww.
So there's a song. It's like a German trucker song. Like, Dad, when I grow up, I want to be. What does it say? Dad, when I grow up, I want to drive diesel, right? Like you, right? So that's very cute. So anyhow, so that's how we got into driving, and that's why I always wanted my message to young people: if you want to be truck driver, if you think about it, do it. It doesn't mean you have to do it your entire life.
But try it, because you'll find it. There's so many different departments and different areas you can get into within logistics and trucking that you can, there's the finance part, there's the safety part, there's logistics, there's dispatch, there's planning. There's so many things that you might not like the one thing, but you could really love something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, in trucking often gets a bad rap. In movies and TV shows, they haven't done a good job.
That's
They're
true.
often these crazy people.
It's very
And
unrealistic.
yeah, it's very much so. So as to your question, do I miss driving? Sometimes. So that, I guess I wasn't oblivious to office drama, but sometimes there's stuff going on in the office.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, you know what? Just to get in the cab and drive, listen to some good tunes and just
Yeah.
no drama. I could go for it now. But I don't like being alone. I like interacting with people. I thrive off of that.
Yeah.
So and then going back to driving as well, like young people out of school, you know, they have the societal pressure. You need to get your secondary education. No, you know, if you consider trucking, drive for a few years, and you can make a lot of money pretty fast, and you get to travel. You know, if you're freshly married, like me and my wife, like we started with nothing, and we're by no means rich. I guess comparison to a lot of countries, most of us are rich, right? So,
Yeah.
So it's a quick way to make money, save money, and you get to travel together, and you get to learn how to get along. Like there's no door that you can slam. Like obviously you don't want to jump out of the door. That would be bad. So
I never thought of that.
You have to within a small cab figure out your issues, and it's challenging, but it's great. Like it's interesting. No, but like we never beat each other up. Not from what I can remember. So maybe the beating up was so bad that I just
you
don't
blocked
remember.
it out.
Not physically.
Not physically. But anyhow,
How long did you guys drive together?
13 years.
Oh my
We
goodness.
drove 13 years
wow.
ago, yeah. So,
Count the grays.
so
This industry will get you gray quick though.
yeah, almost any industry.
Well, I know
will
everyone's
find,
different, right?
So,
It's genetic.
yeah, no, I mean any industry, right? Like it almost no offer any job. Like I can't even imagine finance. Like that's probably extremely stressful. Depending on how the economy goes. And,
Or even just running a business.
yeah.
Or owning a business. I think, I would. I don't know if I could do that. I think it'd be too much stress. Like,
Yeah. And funny
too much
enough,
unknown.
Funny enough, our CEO Norm Curtis, after 40 plus years, he still has hair. So that's impressive.
I know he's been doing this. Well, he started driving.
Yeah.
And then he built his own business.
Yeah.
And he's built it up very well.
He has an impressive story. Hopefully, he will do me the honors and sit
I
down
hope
about
so.
his story
He
too.
should.
Yeah. So.
Are you gonna get Dave
Norm,
to do?
good challenge.
Are you gonna get Dave to do? Yeah.
So, he already said I will never say no to you, Pedro. So there's that. Not sure what that means. Anyhow, that was interesting. That was interesting rabbit trail. Right?
It's natural though.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I had another question. Personal growth, like, do you find that this industry or this job what kind of personal growth, or has it given you challenges on personal growth?
I think I became a lot more responsible, a lot more patient, a lot more mature. Working here, I became a real adult.
Okay.
Yeah, there are like Keystone also pushes like a really good work-life balance. Like it's just as important to be here as to not be here.
Right.
Yeah, they allow for a lot of personal growth too. Like you grow within your job, that also allows you to grow personally. Yeah.
Almost challenged you to grow personally, right?
Well, a challenge is good. A challenge is always good because
Definitely.
you're learning. A challenge is good because it's something you're overcoming.
Yeah.
And I do like to be challenged because how else am I going to learn anything?
Yeah.
Give me a challenge, let me overcome it. And I'm a very determined person.
Okay.
Yes, I work very hard, and I will always do what I need to do to get the job done.
So like.
But as I gotten older, I also know I've learned more to just let things go.
Okay.
Yeah, just bite your tongue. That sometimes that really doesn't matter. Big picture does. So there's some things, a big picture, it really doesn't matter. Whereas when I was younger, I would fight tooth and nail for certain things. And as I've grown, I've gotten older. I'm like, it's okay. It doesn't matter. The world's not going to end.
Yeah,
It's going to
that's
be
right.
okay.
Something that we like to say, we don't.
Ship hearts. We're not shipping hearts.
That's
yeah.
right.
This isn't life and death.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of dive into it a little bit further. What you said, like you're a very determined person. Like, how do you deal? And I don't like to call it failures because I don't think there's such thing as failures. It's just something that didn't work out, and you can always learn even from things that we call failures.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
how do you?
well, you
find,
have to fail to succeed.
Yeah.
I
How
am
to-
hard
how
on
to
myself.
overcome.
Yeah, I am. I will be hard on myself.
Okay.
Yeah, if I make a mistake, I am harder on myself than probably anyone else is. But that also is part of my drive. Like if I make a mistake, I learn from it. But I used to beat myself up a lot more. Now I try to just, you made a mistake, figure out how you made the mistake, and figure out how to not do it again. But it's hard. Like I've always been hard on myself. So if I make a mistake, I don't like it. But at the same time, I remind myself, how else am I going to learn?
Yeah.
How else am I going to get better? And then my 4-year-old daughter will be like, mistakes are okay.
Kids are the best.
I know.
Like,
So yeah,
Like-
mistakes are okay.
there's something about the pure honesty of a child.
Oh yeah, well, because they're so innocent, right? They haven't had the hardships of the world yet.
Yeah.
But if you think of things through, like, even at school, they really push teamwork. Sometimes I'm like, adults could really learn from this. There's some shows that you watch now, I'm like, you put an episode of Paw Patrol on, teach you about teamwork really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that, but I heard that name before. Well, okay.
If you have kids, you'll,
Yeah.
yeah. It's one of the big ones.
We'll get to know the ins and outs. That was a good segment. Industry insights, like what changes have you seen in the industry since you started, and how do you feel about them?
I've noticed that this year has probably been our slowest year. We started off really strong and it was going crazy, and then I noticed at about May, things started to go down a little bit. And then for Keystone, June and July have kind of always been a bit slower, so I was kind of used to that. But then the slowness continued into August and into September, and finding freight was harder, even to find, and it was trying to find freight at our running costs. We couldn't, it was very hard to even do that because rates have just dropped, and carriers that don't provide the same service as us, they run for a lot cheaper, so it's a lot easier for carriers that don't provide that great service to get the loads because their rates are so cheap. I mean, I was trying to book loads for like $1.50 a mile, and that's just, that was sometimes the best I was getting sometimes because they had 20 other carriers willing to do it for even less. And you have to figure out, hey, is it better to just run my truck at this and just take the loss? Because sometimes you have to. Yeah. But you keep trying to push and even the volume of freight wasn't there because carriers just don't provide great service. They're cheap, right? So money talks. People will take the cheap rates.
Yeah.
But you don't get as good service.
Yeah, that's true.
So there was a ton of growth throughout 2023, even the beginning of 2024. And then about halfway through, I started to notice just the decline in volumes, in freight, in the price of freight. You make 30 calls to get half a trailer. And then, but then there's the flip side where last week 5 minutes, I booked 4 loads. It just happened to work out that I just got them all at that time, but I've been working at it for 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, drivers won't see that side. We're here trying.
That's why we need to have this conversation, right? Like it is, and here's one thing I really hope to lessen the gap of the bridge between operations and drivers. Drivers, I notice they often feel like that. I think throughout his trucking industry, there's like this so-called hate between dispatchers and drivers. Like, I wouldn't call it hate, but there's like this,
an animosity.
So. And so just look to try to get each side to see what they deal with, and just to come together and we're all in this together. I'm not sure why I use that sentence. It's kind of been a little bit overused, but
we're a team, and we're all working towards the same common goal.
Yeah.
And when it comes to drivers are in their trucks by themselves all week long with no one else to talk to, right?
Yeah, which is hard.
Yeah, right. But I have never had really that experience. But I've always had a very good experience
Okay.
with drivers. And if we did have an issue, we talked about it and we worked it out after.
Yeah.
And I have to say, every driver I've ever dispatched, when they come, I don't dispatch them anymore, right? But when I do see them, we still have a great conversation. I have a big hug with them because who is it? Paul LaGrosse. I forget what truck he drives now, but he's one of my, he's a really good driver. And I hadn't dispatched him in a while. The first time I saw him, he gave me a big hug.
Nice.
Yeah. So you build those relationships and you always, I'm trying to find you something and it's just tough. Hang tight. We'll figure it out. And we always do.
Yeah.
The trucks always get covered. Maybe they're not, he's waiting a few hours. We try to avoid that. But sometimes they got to wait a little while and we get them the load. We got to put together. Sometimes it's the freight's coming here and the driver's waiting for it. So we're like, okay, there's this on this trailer. Mix all this together, get it out there, get him out of here. And I'm like, you know what? The driver's here. Just let the load go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that what you said too, like the honesty of it, like right now it's just a challenge. Like, you tell the driver.
If you're
and
honest,
I think they appreciate that, right? Like if they feel they've been
if
lied
honest
to,
and
or-
open communication makes a big difference. If you just tell them what's going on, they most of the time will work with you and they will be understanding. And you have to understand them too, right? Especially owner operators, right? They have to cover their costs. So if their wheels aren't turning, they're not making money, they're not covering their costs.
Yeah.
Company drivers, I will say, owner operators are probably a little bit more pushy with getting stuff because they have to cover their costs. Company drivers, they're paid by the company. So it's not, but we never want a truck sitting.
Yeah. But when you said earlier, like $1.50, that's basically operating costs. Like,
Our operating cost is higher than that.
okay, so
Yeah. So
I'm just thinking roughly, like from my experience as owner operator, like when you're
wasn't-
sitting at $1.50, you're like, no, it's challenging.
Yes, it is. That would be the challenge.
But fuel has gone up like crazy too, so that's not helpful.
Fuel. Oh, I know. Fuel is. Even when you fill up your car.
Yeah.
Right. It's a lot.
It's not. So work-life integration. Any tips that you have for other industry professionals on how to manage such a demanding job, like between personal life and family? Like what's the trick to a good balance? Like not get overwhelmed by your job.
Oh my goodness, how do I do that? Well, you have to have people around you that you can work with and you can lean on. And when you have too much going on, you'll be like, hey, can you help me with this? Hey, can you help me with that? And then you also too, like when you are done work, you have to check out and you have to just let work be work and home be home.
Yeah.
And that's hard because if you're in this industry, you get calls after hours, you get calls when you're at home, and you have to figure out, there's certain boundaries.
Yeah.
Like I won't answer a call after a certain time. I just
Right.
won't.
Yeah.
It's, after a certain time, I'm like, no. And then, like, if I am feeling overwhelmed, like, there's a lot of great people we work with that I can lean on and say, hey, I need help with this because I am way too busy with this. Can you do this? Can you help me with that? And same because what will happen is some person might be really, really busy and the person next to them might not be. Mm-hmm. So and when someone's really busy too, I'll be like, hey, are you good? Do you need help with anything?
Right.
And I do the same, and I'll ask for help. And you have to be able to ask for help. That's the biggest thing is it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
Don't think you have to do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
I used to think, I have to do all this by myself. You don't have to do all of it by yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to do too much by yourself, that's just a recipe for errors and mistakes.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to rush everything. So ask for help because it's okay to get help.
Yeah. So asking for help,
Asking for help because
it's
that's okay.
not a sign of weakness.
No,
right?
it's not.
So often
It's actually a sign of strength.
Yeah, we often feel like it's a sign.
But
of
that's the
weakness.
whole thing that we've had in society where you need to do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't need to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Because you get
lean on
help,
your team members, right?
if you get help, it'll make things smoother and other people will learn more too, and maybe you'll even learn something.
So you're vulnerable. That's
Yes,
not a sign
yeah,
of weakness.
yeah.
So vulnerability.
Being able to be
makes
vulnerable is actually very
yeah,
strong.
that's how people
Yeah.
get to trust you, right?
Yeah.
So, and then
If you make us say, hey, look, I f***ed this up, can you help me fix it?
Yeah.
You will be amazed what can happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then you build relationships, and building relationships is actually a very big part of it. If you have good relationships with carriers, with brokers, it can make things very easy.
Yeah.
You can go to a carrier and say, hey, can you take this for me? And I have that. I have a carrier who pretty much no matter what I have, he will do.
Yeah.
And we have certain brokers too. You go to say, hey, do you have anything? And they will almost always have something for you.
Okay.
So you start that relationship and you just continue to grow it.
Yeah.
And things can just very easily fall into place.
Yeah.
And then brokers are actually going, hey, can you cover this? Can you cover that? And then you end up having loads without even having to go look on the link.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, that's a big difference. So it reminded me of a book from Ken Coleman. He talks about leadership. No, that's not about leadership. It's more about finding your place in the workplace.
Yeah.
So he talks about a big mistake that people make, and this people can disagree about this one, and I kind of tend to agree with him. Like they do networking. They go networking, and that's a mistake. You have to think as a relationship building, because networking is you go into a building, you talk to somebody. Like me and you talking until somebody a better target comes in the room, and then I completely just not really listening anymore.
And that's
because that you don't, that just shows you don't care about the person at all.
No.
So whereas relationship building,
Relationship building, now that we're talking about that, is actually a very big part of the job.
Yeah.
You build the right relationships, and it can make a world of difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Relationship building, not networking. Okay, legacy. What legacy do you want to leave behind? What would you be remembered for?
Oh, what do I want to be remembered for, or what will I be remembered for? Let's hope it's what I want to be remembered for.
Okay, cool.
I hope that I look back and I say I did the best I could, and I treated people the best I could, and I worked well with everybody, and I kicked some ass while I was doing it.
Okay, here you go.
Not beating people up or anything, but just,
Yeah.
kicking ass at what I was doing.
That's a big goal.
Well, I got a big personality, and I'm a very determined person.
There you go.
And I always figure
Yeah.
what I need done out.
How to kick ass.
Yeah, I always figure out how to kick ass.
Perfect.
Kicking ass and taking names.
There you go. It's perfect. All right. That concludes today's episode. Thank you very much for being part of it. It was a little bit
Hey, I am
little
very,
bumpy.
very happy to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
And so thank you very much for watching. You can find us anywhere podcasts are found, YouTube, Spotify. I'm not sure if iTunes yet. I've really figured that out. Thank you very much for watching, and feel free to please feel free to leave in the comment section suggestions of people to interview or subjects that we should cover. So hit subscribe, like, whatever this platform requires, and make sure. Please leave a 5-star review. My mom always said, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. So we appreciate you, and keep on trucking. Keep in between the ditches and the rubber side down. Adios.